They are saying, I prefer the momentary pleasure of a sterilized act of intercourse. I prefer the momentary pleasure of a sterilized orgasm, if you will, over the opportunity of participating in the inner life of the Trinity. To which I respond, bad choice. But do you think men and women would continue to choose this if they knew what they were choosing? They know not what they do. And so, with great compassion, we proclaim this. Just as Christ said from the cross, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Living in authentic marital spirituality means opening our whole personality, body and soul, to the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. It means inviting the Lord and giver of life to be an intimate part of our marital decisions, of the way we live our lives. And what is this Holy Spirit? Besides the Lord and giver of life, He is also the very love shared between the Father and the Son. The Holy Spirit has been poured out upon us to enable us to love in the image of God. In the beginning, man and woman were naked without shame precisely because they had been inspired by God. But they did die spiritually. The breath of God that had been inspired expired. It had been breathed in by God, and then they breathed it out. Expire. And when our bodies are no longer inspired by the Holy Spirit, lust replaces love. Love means self-donation for the good of the other. And this is the way the first man and woman experienced sexual desire. As a desire to be a gift for the other. Self-donation for the good of the other. And also for the good of the offspring that might result. Lust is now experienced as a desire for self-gratification at the expense of the other. We have two paradigms here. Self-donation for the good of the other, self-gratification at the expense of the other. We think this self-gratification, this desire to please myself, to gratify my own lustful desire at the expense of the other, we think this is normal. This is our reality. But Jesus comes into the world, and in his discussion with the Pharisees, when the Pharisees question him about divorce, the Pharisees, paraphrasing here, say, Moses allowed us to divorce our wives. What do you have to say on the matter? Jesus says, Moses allowed you to divorce because of the hardness of your heart. What is a hard heart? A hard heart is a heart that is closed to the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. In other words, a hard heart is a lustful heart. Because if your heart is closed to the indwelling of the Spirit, you will live by the desires of the flesh, as St. Paul says. And here we're not saying flesh as body bad. The flesh is the human person, body and soul, cut off from the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. See? See. The hard heart is what prevents us from living in authentic marital spirituality. The hard heart is the heart that says, I do not want the Holy Spirit to be part of this. I close myself to the indwelling of the Spirit.